Alright, Captains, we are back on the PS4 bridge, and today I would like to continue on with sort of helping out newer captains either on PC, where I'm from originally, and or on console. Like I said, we're on the PS4 bridge here, and what I wanted to go over today is mostly just the menu. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is it was very confusing for me to go over. I'm not going to go through everything in detail, but just sort of a guidance, because even me knowing the systems on PC, I still was getting a little lost. But there are some things that I like here on the console bridge, where in terms of information where they are, but some of them are redundant, but we'll go over that. So what we'll do, go over the menu in the opening screen, space and ground, and little tips and tricks from me. And then also, Captains, if you are on the console bridge, you can also throw in your two ECs down in the comments below. But here we go. So here we are in the welcome page here when you first get onto the console here on PS4. And what I like about it is you already have like your news items here. So we've done this before when you did the board resurgence. It's like little quick snippets of news. So it's letting you know what events are going on, what are the hot topics here. So of course the board resurgence, which is part of the event campaign. There's a Zen sale going on. It'll tell you until when, the 24th. The Klingon recruitment event, of course, which we have until looks like March 9 to get all. So Captains, if you haven't yet, at least make one to get the transponder to get out of the tutorial. And of course the Agile Classic bundle is now out. So again, this I do like because it's just news. Now, you also have your engage, which will get you onto the actual gameplay itself, and then you also have options. This will actually come into play again with the other menus, but we'll go over that. So here we go, we'll go engage, and of course credits if you want to. Then of course it'll bring you to the character list, and again it'll actually repeat the news. So it's there, it's redundant. Just in case you miss it, it's there twice. So again, it's the same thing, nothing too different. And of course, you land and you actually make your character. So what we're going to do is we're going to try Xander, my captain there, who is of course now level 65, still flying the Nova, and a huge shout out to Security Pro for gifting me that ship. I love it and have been using it since I got back on it. So here, when you get onto the actual bridge here in game, you'll see here this welcome back page that you land on. It sorta is still a news center in my opinion. You can click on anything that they have here. So for example, you click on this one, it will show you the episodes, but this will also be in another menu here. But you'll have episodes here, and then you can use L1 and R1 to go through the actual top there. So episodes, active missions is what you actually have in terms of what you've already done or have queued up. Incoming hails from the NPCs, of course accolades, and then logs. Within these, you can actually still check to see where you can scroll just by going up and down on the D-pad. So of course, combinations for your accolades. So there's that. There's also this. Command any starship from any faction. It's just news, info snippets. It's there for you. It's there for a quick reference if you need to. And of course here again, this brings you now to the event page where you can see. Now it is kind of weird here where it says the featured one, of course the board resurgent as of the recording of this. The event campaign, this will be here all year. And of course, I don't know why they put here the Winter's Wonderland, but it's all here. Okay, then of course you have the event store, second chance, and then we can reclaim your rewards. I'm not going to go into detail for most of them, but if you just click on it, it'll just bring you to either the summer winter event here or the winter events. And here's the thing, when you press circle, it brings you back to the main menu. So sometimes that could be a little annoying. I wish it could just kind of keep you where you are, as opposed to sort of kicking you out of the menu entirely, because it says either second chance or back. So if I went to second chance, it'll show you like the event buyout, but then if I go back, it brings you back to this splash menu here, which I wish it could just bring you back one menu back. So that's one little thing that I found kind of not so cool, but it is what it is. And then of course reclaim rewards. So there's that. Now to get out of this, you just have to press circle. Now you're in your main page, wherever you're going to be, either in space or in ground. Now, if you press options, it will bring up this menu here. And this is the majority of where you can access a lot of things. But there's also another function that you can go to access each of these things. So we'll go through this quickly. So ship and crew, your ship. Of course, it'll bring you to your ship. It'll show you your equipment, what you have here. And then you have the little sub menus there of pressing R1, ship crew, inventory, recruitment, away team. And then you also have another one for the L2, which shows you the gear, stats, stations, and visuals. In this menu alone, you can still use your D-pad to go up and down for your captain, for your bridge officers, your little shuttles, and of course what you have here in your slots. So that is the first ship menu. And you go to this menu and you go to captain. Well, you're still going to this menu. So I don't think this is needed, but it's there. Again, you look at this, there's like, oh, there's so many things to click on, but really some of these are just kind of breaking down per category. But really, if you go to ship and crew, you're already there. Now, what you won't see here is the recruit new officers. It's just a little different here. So, actually it is there. Sorry, my fault. It is there. But again, like I'm saying, it's sort of redundant how it does that. So there's the ship and crew right there. And then skills. So the skills here, of course, is your captain skills, your specializations, your crew stations, your reputation. So when you go to captain skills, here you go have your space, ground, traits, and then the L1 R1 menu is your captain skills, your specializations, and your crew stations. As you can see, there is a little exclamation point for me to fill out a starship trait or whatever have you, and I can do that as I play along. But again, we're just kind of going over this as best as we can to give better sort of guidance to new captains here, especially on the console. But again, it's still here. Again, sub menu, you can go click it there if you wanted to. It's there from your main menu here. So all of this is again redundant. Now the weird thing is it have reputation here. So under skills, you have your reputation tab here, which I don't think it belongs here because it's in another tab. Actually, it's in two more tabs. But we'll get into that a little bit more later. So there's the skills. Your missions, this is where you can get all your episodes, away missions, incoming hails again from the PCs. Again, we saw this already. So again, it's here again. Right? It's here again. At least when you hit circle here, go back, you can go back here to this menu here. But this also gives you the access to the TFOs, your PvE, your patrols, your PvE, and creating privates. So again, it's all there, right there. It's all in that sub menu, but I guess they just make it so that you can go into one that you need to, but all you have to do is hit journal and then everything's there already, right? For mission journal, active episodes, and all that. Events, again, here are the events again. So this is what I mean. Things are sort of doubled, and it, like I said, for me, it got confusing coming from PC to PS4. So I would suggest just kind of going over these yourself so you can familiarize yourself with all this. Event campaign winter, we went over that already. Duty officers, it'll show you again here the overview where you've done your completed, the roster of how many classes you have, and you can break them down by class, quality, trait, and status. The assignments for them. Now, I recommend captains you doing this for experience, and you can also get this from contraband. That's another video topic that we can talk about when it comes to how I gather in-game resources. So there is that. Of course, you have your active ground and space, which you can set with going into each. And of course, you got your chain assignments. So me, I mostly focus on the assignments tab here, and where I do most of my doffing via these menus here. So diplomatic, science, engineering, military, exploration, espionage, medical, colonial, trade, development, and recruitment. And my recommendation is just to kind of build them up as you go. This in itself is kind of part of my dailies to do. So again, you have your duty officers, then you also have Admiralty under that. Here, I always recommend everyone just doing up to level 10 because you actually get DIL payment from this, but also experience, and this unlocks around, I believe, 52, where you can get then any ship that you have, you can send them out. It's like doffing, but for ships. But it gives great rewards, and this is part of my dailies that I do. And of course, it's just a ship roster that'll show you what ships you have, and of course, ships that are in maintenance after you finish an Admiralty assignment. This is going to show what ships are not available. Duty officers, and of course, research and development. I'm slowly building up each, but you have limited slots open here until you start building up your development R&D. As you can see, I've already got my projectiles up to 15, and I'm now working on my beams. And this is just a 20-hour assignment on each of these. And for me, what I've done is I've just doubled up on the beams, doubled up on the torpedoes and all that stuff, so that I can concentrate and focus on each discipline. For me, my recommendation here when you're doing this, focus on your beams, cannons, projectiles first, and then everything later, and then of course kits and modules, weapons, you'll have all those stuff after. Again, this is just, want to make it very clear, this is a perspective from a PC player going to console, and I'm bringing the habits that I've done on PC here to console. So there's your duty officers tab, then you have your end game. So here you have, again, here the where you can join the PvE patrols, PvP, create private. Again, it's redone again. So how it gets, it's under missions and it's under end game when you can actually just put under one, in my opinion. So there's a join random TFO, your PvE task force again, your reputation again, and your endeavors is here as well. But there's another tab that we'll show you here. As you can see, I'm level 34. Slowly building it up. I try to do this every day. There are some that I can't do just due to time restrictions, but I will make it a point to try to play this sort of daily, at least to get the daily in. And then if I can fit in the pendevers, I do so, either that be the unidevers or the personal endeavors. Again, I'm a little lazy when it comes to words, so when I say unidevers, it's universal endeavors. When I say pendevers, it's personal endeavors. So we're going to build this up, and again, it's going to be interesting to see how we are in a year. Of course, navigation, this is for your sort of area map where you are, either in sector space or depends on where you will be. But it'll just tell you here, then galaxy map. You can change instances if you need to. Zoom in, zoom out using L2 and R2 and then L to pan. And backing out. You can, from here, you can also access your bridge, your shuttle, and then also transwarp if you need to. Social and team, it's usually just sort of teaming up with your, checking out your friends list, seeing what your team settings are. Again, there's an R1 and L2 sub menus here that you can pick. I have never touched this, so I've never really messed with this. But the Find Fleet, if you're starting, this is a place to go. But I was actually invited to a fleet when people found out that I was playing on console. So of course, friends, let's see, and then it's here again, manage teams, friends list, fleet holdings, and it was all here anyways. So when you go to your friends list, again, same thing here. When you go to the fleet, it's a little different. This is actually the fleet that you're in. It'll give you an overview for your sub menu, your news for that particular fleet, the events that your fleet is having, the roster, who's on and or offline, information. This is going to be done by the leadership of your fleet. And of course, settings when it comes to certain things about your fleet. And again, in each one, there's still sometimes little sub menus from your D-pad that you can hit. But there is that. Fleet holdings, of course. This is going to show you what the progress of your fleet is if you're in a fleet. So tier 5 here for our colony world, the fleet that I'm in. Again, the provisions, leaderboard, of how many captains there have donated, and then it'll show their rank. Of course, find a fleet, and of course you can access your mail here too. This is from the fleet. This was usually, from my experience, fleet leaders showing or communicating with fleet members. You got your store. If you're new, definitely check out the Zen store. Go down over to the promotions tab and see what they're giving out. For me, when I started, I got the Khan outfit, the Baul weapon pack, and the Zotfosh pistol. Not bad, but this is also where you can purchase all the ships, all the new bundles, anything that they'll have here. And if there's a sale, of course, you'll see there will be a sale right in the right hand corner of each item. Of course, you can access buying Zen here as well. There's a store tab here that you can get. Sometimes just free stuff, sometimes this is where the special items. Very nice tab because it has the Phoenix prize pack. I don't normally recommend buying anything from the Dill store other than the Phoenix prize pack stuff. Like even environmental suits, if you need it, it is there. Hangar pets, this is where you'll find your hangar pets for your ships that do have hangar slots. Reclaim, this is usually items that you already own and that you can reclaim for your tunes. Now they'll have, of course, these specialization modules for your intel, command, temp ops, miracle worker, and of course if you had an account starship trait unlock, it'll be here for your other tunes to get. See, I press circle and it brings me out there. So this will bring you to the Dilithium Exchange where you can buy Zen, sell Zen, and of course the history log of what you have done so far. And then again, another tab here for purchase Zen. Under options, this is where you can set up your audio, your controls, your HUD, your chat. Messing around these, it's a little different for everyone. The one thing that I was taught here that was very helpful was auto attack. So under controls, just put in under maintain auto attack. This will maintain auto attack your R2, and it's usually your beams. But again, mess around with it, see what works for you, captains. Of course, the HUD area adjustment, this was already there in the actual first menu when we first started. Again, my circle, bring me out there. Game help, this will show you your controller layout. What's new, this again was at the very first page there, and it'll just give you a short brief info on what content has dropped with each one. So right now we're under House Reborn, Shatter, Divide, Legacy, and keep going. So here, one of the things that I don't like is sometimes you'll tab off screen, but you're not sure what you're tabbing to, and you don't until you're there. So there's respawn. There is if in case you need to respawn by means, and sometimes I have had to do that when I got stuck. So keep that in mind. So then under I am stuck, I've had to use this before when I fell into sort of kind of flour, but I was able to kind of jump my way out. It was kind of hit and miss. It took me maybe 4 or 5 times to do that. So sometimes it worked for you, sometimes not. If you're stuck in a mission, sometimes you're going to have to bite the bullet and leave the mission and restart again. Sometimes. Still under options, of course, it'll give you the credits, it'll change character, and of course your logout. So I know that's a lot, but like I've said before, Star Trek Online is very layered, and I think for this menu, they've doubled some things up here that I don't think they needed to necessarily, and or just place it under one. Under endgame could have just gone reputation, endeavors, and all that stuff, as opposed to putting missions here, because that sometimes gets confusing. So now here you're going to be in this, when you get to this screen here, this is your main one. Now, this is one of my first mistakes here at being a console player, is like I keep pressing X. Now X actually does nothing if you keep pressing, but if you press and hold, it brings up this menu here, which will show you your priority actions, which when you see that very top right corner says X hold and there's a number 1 there, that means there's priority actions, whether that's go start a mission, contact a certain person, etc. Right now it's asking me to contact Sub-Commander Mavek. Don't need to do that. Now here in this menu, you're not going to possibly have that Endeavors menu until you get to the end game. So here's the welcome window if you need it. Here's the chat window if you need to go chat with someone there when you're teamed. Cycle camera, you only have 3 distances here. So you're going to have to find out what works for you, captains. And all you got to do is press X and then exit out and then look and see what works for you. I kind of find either the closest and or mid-range works better for me. Your transwarp destination, this is where you can transwarp. If you're in a fleet, you'll actually have a lot of access to this. If not, it also depends on your reputation level, because sometimes you'll have, if you're finish your Omega, then you can go to Defera, for example, but this is where you can go here for a quick transwarp if you need to. Visit Starship Bridge again, visit Shuttle Bridge again, and your inventory, again, this brings up this menu here, which we already went through in the other options menu. So it's here twice. Could it be that you don't need it twice? Not sure, but it's here for you. This is where I mostly live, and the only reason why I go to this menu here is to sort of just log out, to be honest, and or change characters if I need to. Enable an astrometrics, that's if you want that cool little underlay over there that shows the orbit of the planets and the solar system. I personally don't like it, so I just kind of disable it, and it's just a toggle of X. That's it. Here are your primary missions. This is where you need, if you want to change this, let's say if you want to do another mission, it'll be here under your primary mission where you can travel to if you need to as well. Of course, your task force operations, again, it's here again. So you can access it. Think of this as more like a quick action menu is what I would use it as. And then of course projects, like we went through before, the doffing is here, the crafting, reputation, admiralty. Again, this is where I mostly live in terms of accessing the menus that I have, as opposed to using this, because I can mostly just grab it through this quick menu here. And of course, when you're at the end game, your Pandevers opens up. This just shows you the window for your Unidevers, your personal endeavors, and then how much time you have. The other thing I just wanted to go quickly over, so the 2 last things, when it comes to sort of when you start here. So we'll work our way from the D-pad. So we'll start with the D-pad. Here in sector space or even in combat, your up pad, of course, there is your impulse speed and your transwarp. If you press and hold in sector space, you'll do a transwarp. If you press and hold that in a combat zone, that literally is just your full impulse. So keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to your power settings, it's actually right beside your shield icon there. Recommend, especially if you have an energy build, to go to power settings right there. And all you got to do, and you only have one option to go right, that's it. So you'll see there, the arrow will change. It'll change my power settings, right to engine, and then more to aux. So I usually just go power settings because that's more weapon power settings, because that's where my build is more focused on. I have 4 beams on it. And then we'll go to, you'll see there right below my ship, this is where you fire your weapons. Now the R2s, as you can see there, my beams, these are here. Let me go into quickly a mission here to show you, caps. Patrol, so that you can see it in action. Go to our Argala, our trusty Argala, just so that you can see that they're going to be auto fire. You still have to hit it to actually activate it, I find, because it sometimes doesn't activate until I hit it. Could be different, but again, you will see there, see here what I was saying, if you hit and hold up, that'll be just your full impulse in these type of TFO/patrol there. But here, this is where you're going to fire your weapons from your R2s, that's your beams, and then your R1s are your torpedoes. Or at least that's how I have set them up. Now here is, here's the fun part, Caps. I'm going to just hide here in case the Kazon want to pew me. This is where I've had my biggest learning curve, which is the wheel work. So when it comes to captain abilities, when it comes to psi, eng, tac activations. So again, we'll go left to right. So what I found, my L1, you have to, there's two functions. Tapping will activate whatever is in L1 position or in any of the slots. So L1, L2, square, triangle, or circle. If you press it, it'll activate it. Just press it. It'll activate whatever ability you put there. If you press and hold, that brings up the infamous wheel work. So a lot of these abilities you can actually put on auto execute, and you see there's use power. You have to actually use, if you want to use it, you press R2. Now I'll do that. Or set it as quick power, means all you got to do is press and hold the left click, and then it'll actually change that icon. But what I is put there what I need for myself in terms of what I would use on the fly, because in combat doing this gets a little tedious, and also there's no way that you can actually place any of these items where you want to. So there is a little bit of learning curve. Here I find this is where my universal consoles usually go, is the L1. L2, again, you see there's my TAC fleet. I'll just have to hit L2, it'll activate, but when I press and hold L2, it'll bring up all of this here. So some of them, again, you can set as auto execute. Of course you're gonna hit me. They followed me. See, I have, just to hit my evasive maneuvers, I have to go to this menu, so go to it, and then hit R2. And then as you can see, my alpha, attack pattern alpha activated there because it's under activation. Let's actually just abort this mission because I don't want to get pew-pewed. It's a little, like I said, I mentioned, Captains, it's a little different here on console, and that's why I wanted to take this time to sort of go over this in terms of helping newer captains. And this, again, is very layered. I'm trying to do this as quick as I can, but as coming from my experience. So again, you can still activate here. All those green highlighted boxes are the ones that will auto execute when it hits a certain threshold. So let's say Focus Frenzy. Right now, power auto executes when your target is cruiser rank or above. Doesn't mean that you can't activate it manually. Okay, so again, holding L2 will bring up this wheel work, as termed lovingly, and then this is going to differ ship to ship to ship, because I find that when I was leveling up, let's say evasive maneuvers is here, but then as the wheel work grows in terms of abilities you get, it moves around. So every time you level up, every time you get a new ship, just familiarize yourself, captains, in terms of what's on your wheel work. So that's L1, L2. Now we're going to get to our psi, engine, tac powers. So again, for me, I put tractor beam repulsor on square. If I want to bring up all my other psi abilities, I have to press and hold it. Now, I have most of these, if not all of these, under auto execute, which is sort of good for me, and this will auto execute only when you're in red alert. It'll keep doing it under red alert, but you can also set it to sometimes certain, so like the heals ones here, power auto executes when any of your shields are less than 50, but then you can also hit it at R1 again, and power auto execute when you're affected by science debuff. So sometimes there's going to be different menus. I just put it to 50%. Same thing with hazard emitters, but again, you still have to use your wheel work. And when you're in combat and let's say you're flying straight, You bring up this menu, you're going to continue on that flight path. So best thing to do is totally familiarize yourself where your powers are. And that's your square, your eng. Here is your triangle, same thing. You can see I have my engineering team where I can manually hit it if I need it. But then I have emergency powder shields and Oxybat there on auto execute whenever possible. I've actually set my power engine shields to auto execute when it's below 50% or equal to. Of course, my TAC powers. Again, this is going to change the more or less TAC powers you have available to you. I know that's a lot, captains. To even go into further detail of this is just something that you have to experience. But you'll see it in play here. We'll show it a little bit after, but right now I'm going to go to the bridge and show you some of just the ground stuff, and that's where we're going to end it off, just so that this is not too long and necessarily too overwhelming, because like I said, it took me a while just to get these basics down, just a while. So here on ground, same thing applies. You can hold your menu, everything's there, or whatever object you want to sort of interact with. You'll see if you put your crosshairs on someone, you can see their info. If it's another player, you can actually just press options, I believe, and that'll actually bring up their info. But there's that. Now here, and both in sector space, it doesn't matter. You can hit your big old square button in the middle. That'll bring up the map that you're on. Now R2 is your main firing mode. And again, see, I go to red alert and I have some things on auto execute, just like my security team. R1 is your actual secondary fire. Now here, my circle here is actually, of course, the melee attack. Triangle, pressing triangle once will switch your weapons. Pressing and holding will either holster and or holster your weapon or take out your weapon. It's like that. Here on ground, it's a little easier. You only have L1 and square to worry about. So L1, usually I find it's either your hypo sprays, your sort of captain powers, your kit modules. It's not that bad. I can auto execute a lot of them, but I chose to keep the ambush here because, again, I would rather have a little bit more control over that. You can also auto execute your shield healings, your hypo spray if you wanted to. I'm going to manually hit that. Now again, all you got to do to just go to each item is use your little L thumbstick there. Of course, you have my square here. This is more of like your captain abilities here on the ground. Of course, there's your resuscitation. So I know that's a lot of info, captains, but I know when I first came here, and this is me knowing a lot of the systems already coming from PC, it's still overwhelming. It's still very overwhelming. So I would suggest taking your time to go over figuring out what's going to work for you and what settings you're going to, what's going to help you here on console. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I am enjoying the time here that I am on console. I plan on trying to help out as much as I can. I am not the be and end all when it comes to information. Again, I'm speaking just from my experience coming from PC to console. I didn't know how I was going to take to this, but I'm actually really enjoying my time here, and I will continue on trying to help out when it comes to information like this. But we're going to leave it there, Caps. If you find this helpful, please leave a like. If there's any advice that you want to additionally add on to this, please comment below. Help out each other, help out the newer captains that are coming on to Star Trek Online, because like I said, this is a very, very layered game, and the more help that a captain has, especially when they're starting, the more chance that they'll stay here and enjoy Star Trek Online as much as we do. But we will leave it at that, captains. That's a lot of yap in there. I apologize, but I thought I wanted to get this out so that we can at least start the conversation there and help out our fellow console captains.